So folks, you can see there, hamstring walks. What I'm doing with this is I'm going to sit down, laying on my back. I'm essentially setting up straight away into what will be a glute bridge position. So if you haven't seen a glute bridge before, we want to make sure that as we drive the hips up, you can see feet underneath the knees, slightly narrower stance than normal because we're going to end up walking away, hands out as a bit of a base, and that's going to be really important, especially when I get out to sort of that long position. So make sure you are kind of pushing the hands into the ground, okay? But focusing on the hips from here, I want to make sure that I'm keeping a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt. So the opposite would be an anterior tilt. It's kind of tilted away from me. My stomach is really kind of like loose and expanded, and there's lots of tension in my lower back. So I'm not in an optimal position to really do this from. So I want to make sure pelvis is sort of tilted towards my face, rib cage is down, and I'm nice and strong through my core here, okay? I'm going to take my toes off the ground. And from here, what I'm going to try and do is lift my leg and sort of shift it out, walking it away from me without letting my hips shift and completely just drop, okay? So I'm staying extended with the hips where I start to walk out and my hamstrings are getting like these little tiny isometric contractions as I start to walk out. So my hamstring is lengthening, but my glute is staying engaged the whole time. When I feel I get to as far as I can, still got that tilt, still nice and strong through my core, and I still haven't got any tension on my lower back, okay? I'm now gonna walk it back in, keep pushing my hips nice and high. I'm only lifting a tiny bit off the floor. The aim really to just tiptoe back towards this start position, okay? But you can see the whole time I'm keeping the hips extended. As I walk back and forth, I'm trying not to shift too much from side to side. Stay braced. What's not happening here as I walk back in is the hips staying low and not fully extended. So right now I've got no tension in my hips. I'm not in full hip extension. So that's the wrong way that you'll end up doing, okay? You can see there a few faults, as I mentioned, the hips kind of toppling from side to side. Just essentially not a movement that I can do at the moment because I don't have the required strength, okay? So we want to have options. What we can do from here is, instead of working on the feet going away, we can work on something called a marching glute bridge, sorry. So I can set up in a very similar position, this start position that I was just in, where I go up into my glute bridge, narrow stance because I'm going to be taking the feet off the ground, knees pushing out wide so that I get a little bit more tension on my glutes, okay? From here, I'm essentially just going to lift one leg. I've got tension in it, I'm flexing my knee towards my chest, and I'm staying in a strong single leg glute bridge with this opposite hip. I'm then going to transition, make sure that when I place this foot back on the ground, I've got a ton of tension in this right hip because it's about to take all the load as I lift the left. So I'm transitioning from leg to leg, making sure that as I transition, like say for example here, I don't engage this leg enough, my hip is going to drop. Okay, so I'm all the time fighting to keep good hip extension and make sure that I'm engaged the whole way throughout. Core is nice and tight, really staying strong throughout. Now, difficult again, just be honest with yourself whether or not you're really feeling that hip shift. Even have a gander, maybe even potentially video yourself to really see what's going on. If that's the case, more options, okay? We're gonna go into what would be just a single leg glute bridge. So from here, we'd set up narrow stance, drive the knee to the chest, and just hold this position for a period of time, 5 to 8 seconds, really trying to maximize the tension in my glutes, squeezing as tight as I can, relaxing down. I can then set up on the same side, try to fatigue it and get the most out of it, squeeze up, good pelvic tilt, good tension in my core, lots of tension in my hamstrings. I then do a handful on that side, switch, a handful on the opposite side. Really just trying to engage as much as I can with the whole body, really kind of contributing to the whole movement, okay? Even further from that, I can do a double leg glute bridge, both feet on the ground, driving up, squeezing my bum and keeping good hip extension. So always something to work on and to kind of get better at what would be the hamstring walkouts.